But he
True.
was very effective that weekend in Imola. He was very effective. If you look, if you watch the film, you can see his mannerisms. Ayrton used to get into the cockpit, and the world would close in progressively over the weekend. And he'd sit in the car. He wouldn't get out. He'd keep his helmet on. You look at what he was at Imola. He was a different man. He was a troubled man.
And you had because you had to work closely with the drivers. Did you spend much time with Senna away, whether it was away from the track or from outside of the car? Did
I
you get
drove. I
to
was
know him?
yes. I even drove him back from to Woking because it was the one of the wettest races, and I think there was onboard footage of he spun it 3 times. And he was doing that. He demonstrated that. We land in London about 5:30 in the morning, and he was demonstrating with the luggage trolley how many times he actually spun. And I ended up having to giving him a lift back to Woking. And I remember him saying, "Peter, you're a member of the Honda Marlboro McLaren team, and you're driving a Renault." But he was Ayrton was a fascinating character. And the one thing that they say that a person's character is often shown through handshake. Gerhard would crush your hand, he's very strong. Ayrton had actually a very limp, soft handshake. And he was a man of two, he really had two sides to him. There was the super aggressive individual you saw on the track, and there's a very kind, gentle side you also saw to him. But work closely with him. I remember walking. Let's go back to the Phoenix Grand Prix, and we were in this big, massive, big hotel, and I had to take him from one function to another. And it was just the two of us walking through these great big corridors and whatever. And he came across. There was a lady there who was fan. She was absolutely agog that she met her hero, and he calmed her down and took a photograph and was very, very kind with her. Likewise, a similar thing happened at Suzuka when Ayrton won the Grand Prix, and we were taking him to the Honda tent for a celebration. And it got to say there was about various marketing people that were for working for the team or for the sponsors, and we provided this shield, that he walked in the middle of it. And just in front of us, there was this little Japanese lady that fell over, and we stopped and picked her up, and she looked at him, said, and a big smile on her face, took a photograph and went away. And he had that effect on people. He was hugely. Uh, he was probably one of the most unique drivers I think they had, because not only was he ruthless, but also had an incredible brain to actually operate the cars. He was also quite worldly, whether that got to his spiritual beliefs or his business acumen and all those sort of things. I don't think there's been another driver that has got ticks all the boxes the way that they're tend to do. And Lewis does a lot. Um, he's probably by far, and I know you might not agree with me, but at the moment he is the most in tune racing driver. I think Max is still on the ascendancy, and he will actually develop even further. But even so, they don't have that outer charisma that an Ayrton had. So he was. I suppose what I'm saying is he was more than just a sports superstar. He was a pretty special guy.
Who would have been president of Brazil had he lived.
Yeah. We was setting all the deals up. He got an Audi dealership and various other bits and pieces. He was getting ready for the next stage of his life, and you're absolutely right. Wouldn't have been at all surprised that he had become president of Brazil, because of what he did for the people of Brazil. He gave them something to hope for, and he gave them a sense of pride because it was going through a tough time. And he a lot of the money that he was ruthless in charging the money and getting the money out. For example, it was $1 million a race, and he went up until the first few races of '93. with the Ford engine car, wouldn't turn up until he knew that the money was there. So in Imola that year, he arrived actually on the Friday morning because he was waiting. It was a game machine. But I've lost the thread now. But
Well, yeah.
he's
Sorry, continue.
sorry. No, after you.
I remember you had a special dinner with Ayrton one year at
Oh
Monaco.
yes, yes, that was true. And these are sort of special things that you tend to find. Thanks for prompting me. Um, Ayrton had an apartment in Monaco. He also had a place out in Portugal where he stayed. And Monaco it sounds fantastic. You know, it's all the beautiful people. It's a complete pain in the bottom to actually move around and to actually work on that sort of thing. Um,
Mm.
and everything's in different individual different locations, which are all buttoned with the cars and where the track goes. And I had to meet Joe Ramirez, who's the team coordinator, to get passes, the passes you use for the sponsors and everything. So I arranged to meet him outside of Ayrton's apartment. And he was bringing up a lot of Ayrton's trophies because there's always this thing, who has the real trophy and who has the replica? Because McLaren's contract did say that the originals go with McLaren, then the drivers get a copy made. Anyway, Joe had a lot in his hands to take up. So I volunteered to take him up. When we came up, then there was Ayrton and Justin, his housekeeper. And we got talking, and Joe had a special relationship because he spoke Portuguese and Spanish, and he had a little bit of influence when Ayrton joined the team. And you just sensed Ayrton was a bit lonely, and he invited us to stay for dinner, which his housekeeper cooked, and it was just. I was just there agog, thinking, wow, this is just absolutely special. And and then sort of tales, and that's where he said, one day I think I'll drive for Ferrari. And I think it's been said, but the 25 million that Michael Schumacher got when he went to Ferrari was originally penciled in for Ayrton. So probably Ayrton would have driven a couple of years for Williams and then finished his career off and driving for Ferrari.